Good evening. I'm waiting for Mr. Von Scales to join us. He is man of the hour. He just texted me. He should be coming through in any second. Sorry if you guys see me sweating. It's hot. I had to turn my air situation off because you would be able to hear it. I hope everybody's good and productive. Hey y'all. What's going on? Hey, a cool podcast for you guys to check out. Circle of Content. Check them out. They talk about some great things, great conversations. I admire their show a lot. What's going on? Great work, y'all. Keep up the great work. I love it. I still want to have you guys on the show to help promote. Talk about what you do. I think it's very interesting and entertaining. Yeah, absolutely. Hey, I'm always going to recognize people that do great things and who are about education and helping others. And you guys do that through your show. I love that about y'all. Mr. Von Scales has joined us. He is about to pop in.
Hey man, how are you?
I'm well. How are you, brother?
Can't complain. Thank you for having me. Appreciate that.
Oh, absolutely. Firstly, how was your holiday?
It was good, uneventful, which is sometimes a really good thing. Didn't do a whole lot. Didn't have the need. We were going to go out on the boat and went out to get gasoline, and it was 14 boats. And I'm like, you know what? Let's just go home. It's too many people. Too many people, and people always get hurt on that lake, so we just decided to go home. Yeah.
Oh,
How was yours? How was yours?
it was quiet. I chose to do nothing.
There you go. There you go.
A little later on in the evening, it sounded like Beirut out here. So
Nah, I hear you. Where you?
I live in the Philadelphia area, but the Jersey side, the Delaware
Yeah.
Valley. Yeah,
Okay. Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. I like Jersey a lot. There's a old friend of mine. He had a house on Lake Apatcon, uh,
Okay.
and I used to love going there, man. He had a walkout in his backyard. You take down a couple of steps, another 12 steps. His pool was there, and you go down
Hmm.
another 10 or 12 steps, and there's right there his boat to the lake, and we would just zip across the lake and eat different restaurants. It was really nice. I would not live
Awesome.
would not live in New York, but I would live in Jersey though.
Okay. And you're originally from St. Louis, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Born
Born
and
and
raised.
raised there. So you're in Atlanta now, though, right?
I am. Yeah. I since my boys were younger, I always told them, so they're Evan, Cameron, and Brendan. I always say when Brendan goes to college, the youngest one, I'm moving
Hmm.
to Florida. But I was down here doing some business,
Hmm.
and this guy, he knew my wife. I just got out of a relationship, and he knew my wife and my soon-to-be wife, I guess. And then he said, when you're ready, I got somebody for you to meet. And he introduced me like two or three people, and she was the last one, and we just kind of stuck. And then we ended up together, and her business is here. So I stopped one state short. I was headed to Florida, ended up in Georgia.
Okay. So let me back up a minute because you kind of jumped where I was going to go.
Yeah.
So I want to tell you the reason why I wanted to talk to you.
Oh,
I'm a fan of the families and definitely a
okay.
fan of the wives. And I watched the show.
Okay.
And you exude the type of imagery of a black man that I like to see.
Wow. Okay. I appreciate that.
And you're in the reality show game. I mean, that's the business.
Mhm.
Who else is doing that in reality TV? They're doing other things.
No, that's true, but and I would take a ton of credit because I will take credit when credit's due, but I didn't do anything. See, the
That's
first
the point. That's the point.
It's natural. You. That's the point.
Well, I appreciate that, but I went into this not knowing any. First off, I'll go back even further. When I met my wife, I didn't know who she was. You know, it's like he told me her first and last name, but I know Braxton's from St. Louis and Chicago. You know what I
True.
mean? Actually,
True.
I have a couple in my family, so it meant
Wow.
nothing to me. And none of them, because if somebody in my family was related to Tony, that we would have known. But
Right.
so nothing to me, and it didn't dawn on me. You know, it was just her name was Trina. She was cute. You know, that's really all. You know, she had a nice body, nice ass. I'm like, I like this chick. That was it. And then she was smart. And so it wasn't until we went out with this guy, and I can say his name. He's a good friend of mine. His name is Jamie Dukes. He actually played for the Falcons here. He played for the Green Bay Packers as well, but he played center. And so he knows everybody. And he introduced me to a couple other chicks. I'm like, whatever. One my age or a little bit older, one a couple younger than me, way younger than me, and I wasn't interested in that. He introduced me to her. So we went out with he and his wife. We went to a movie. Then we went out for a dinner, and then it was like another 2 or 3 weeks when I was back in town doing business, and Trina invited me to her house. And so downstairs, and I walked downstairs. I'm like, damn, this chick likes Tony Braxton, because there was pictures everywhere. I'm like, fuck, you know, and I'm just looking around. And then I sat down on the couch, and I'm like, wait a minute. He said her name was Braxton. She'd gone upstairs to get us something to drink. So before I said anything real stupid, she came back downstairs. I said, do you know her? She's like, yeah, I know her. I'm like, oh, you do? She's like, yeah. Like, how? She goes, well, that's my sister. I'm like, oh, okay. She's like, you didn't know? I'm like, no, I had no idea. And that was it.
I'm sure that was appealing to her.
You know what? If it was, then it's completely unintended, because I just didn't know. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I just didn't know. So
That setup and that is kind of rare that you didn't know. I mean, that's odd.
But I see, I didn't really watch reality television. I dated a chick who watched like the first year of Real Housewives of Atlanta. So I watched part of that, you know, and I kind of know what you're saying, only in that because I really liked Peter in that. And now I've come to meet him, and he's as cool in real life. I met him down at Slutty Vegan, and we hung out a couple times, but you know, and kind of in passing. But now he's a really good dude. But I had no idea what I was doing. But go ahead, ask your question.
So you never, like, even before the reality show, you never like was a fan of Tony and seen her with her sisters, and never all that time.
I didn't even know she had sisters, bro. I mean, I know it's people think, oh, he's making that up, but I had my own life, you know, and I think the show came on in like 2012, and I was going through my own life. I had 3 boys, you know, raising them, playing football and basketball, and we're thinking about college, and we watched a lot of sports on television. I watched a lot of Law and Order, but there just wasn't a lot of time for TV. I watched 24. I was, you know, that was appointment TV for me, but reality shows just didn't fit. And then I dated a chick a little bit later who liked the Real Housewives, watched that. So I watched that with her, but it just wasn't, I had no idea. I had no idea that Tony has anything.
Wow. Okay. So you meet your wife, you're dating, you fall in love. At what point do you get introduced to the show? Right away or sometime?
No, you know what? You don't know this, but that was a great line of questioning, and here's why. Because okay, so let's go back to when we met. We met August of 17. Okay. We made it official October of 17. Okay. And she told me about her life, and well, in November of 17, she was, so I had ended a relationship right before we met. But I mean, we were still separating our lives and everything. And I'm like, well, I'm moving into a condo. We have a house, I'm moving into a condo and all that stuff. And she's like, well, and I was moving in like the first weekend in November. And she said, no, I moved in the last week of October. My mother moved in the first weekend in November. She said, when will you be done with your mom? I said, I'm actually going to get her done on Friday. either, late Thursday night or Friday. She said, well, Friday evening, would you fly out to Vegas? I'm like, what? She goes, well, and by that time I knew everything. She said, well, Tony was getting honored Lifetime Achievement Award from something. This is in 2017. I don't know, but it was in Vegas and it was on television. And
it was BET. I believe that was BET.
It was, yes, sir. That's right. And so I flew out there, and when we stayed in I can't think of it, but remember now in 2017 there was that mass shooting out there.
Yes.
All those people got killed, but we were in that hotel, and it's funny because hotel room that we were in, you could see, I mean, it was still a crime scene where all those people had been murdered. There was still like dots and tape and paint and shit all over. I actually have some pictures. It's on my Facebook page, but it's a long time ago. I wasn't an Instagram person at that time, but I actually took pictures. I said, this is very eerie and surreal. But so went to that, and as we were walking, because I didn't go to that ceremony, okay, because there were a limited amount of tickets, and they filmed it for her show.
Right.
Like matter of fact, when I came in, like they had a car pick me up. And I'm like, why are you having a car pick me up? I just get an Uber, but they do shit different, right? So she's like, no, because she's like, I'll fly you out. I'm like, I have my own tickets. Like, well, we'll send a car for you. And I thought it was like an Uber, maybe a Uber Black, but no, it was like a production car, big black SUV. And so I think they're dropping me off. And when I get there, some lady opens the door and says, Mr. Scales. I'm like, the fuck, nobody's going to talk to me like that. And I'm like, yes. She goes, right this way. I'm like, I'm going to take you to Trina. I'm like, oh, okay. So I'm getting my luggage and whatever. And I got my list. She goes, no, he'll get it. I'm like, what the fuck is going on? And so I'm like, I can carry my own luggage. No, we pay him to carry luggage, whatever. And I'm like, all right. So they pulled my luggage up to the room, and she was in this suite. They all, got suites when they were shooting or whatever. And they were literally in the middle of a scene, and they just pulled me in the room, and I sat on the other side against the camera. Now, the production people, and I'm telling you this story because this is how it came to be, and it's funny playing it back in my head because it's been so long now. But the executive producer of their show, Julio Collarbaum, wanted to introduce me to the show that day.
Wow. I
would have been too scared, and I was thinking matter of fact, the day after I said that stupid shit about she really likes Tony Braxton, she asked me if I would ever be on a reality show, and I said no. And I said, matter of fact, fuck no, I would never do that. I literally said that to her. She's like, why? I said, first off, I'm not interested. Secondly, I don't have anything to say, and I don't know where I would fit, and I don't have a talent that would lead me to that. It would have to be something productive. And there's another story later on about the conversation after that. But I said, no, I wouldn't do it. And if you remind me later on at another time, I'll tell you. And I apologize for missing last week. I had a 7 o'clock appointment. That was 9 and 9. I mixed them up, so I apologize to you. Anyway, I hate wasting people's time. I hate that shit. And in this industry, in this world, it's like commonplace. And where I'm from, you don't do that to people. So I apologize.
I accept you, brother.
So anyway, so I'll tell you that other story some other time if you want. But anyway, so I go in there, I sit down, and he pulls her aside, like they're shooting, and they yell cut or whatever, because they were just getting ready. As a matter of fact, I think she was doing her father's bow tie, and then maybe but she was in the bathroom. She was in the bathroom with her dad. So I met her dad then, and then he left. Mom came in, and I met the mom, and then I saw Julio pull her to the side, and I was just sitting there, chilling. And I was looking out the window. I'm like, damn, that's where the shooting was or whatever. I started taking my pictures, right? I didn't realize that was her room. I thought it was a room they were shooting. No, it was her room. Anyway, so she said, Julio wants to have you on the show today. And I'm like, I told him no. I'm like, thank you. And she's like, most people would probably say, yeah, I'll do it. I said, I don't want to do that. I don't know what I'm doing. It's not my forte, what do I have to offer? You know what I mean? And we ain't been at this shit but a month. You know what I mean? So there's no point because, I know she's all that, but that ain't got shit to do with a relationship. Let's see if this shit works first. You know what I mean? Because I don't want to be sloppy, and I don't want and as out of respect, I wasn't just going to dive into this woman's life and, you know, try and grab something, because I don't want anything in this industry. There's just nothing in it for me. But I'm like, I'm not just going to be an interloper and go in here and get on TV. I'm like, no. So after that trip, well, I actually was in a scene, the scene where Tony is after the BET Awards. They put us on this balcony, and she's leaning over and waving at the crowd in this club. It's all on television. And I'm actually in a scene there. I signed a waiver, you know. It's me and my boy Etzel. He lives out in Vegas. I had him go with me. And that we're actually in a scene for a quick second, but they don't say who I am. It's no big deal, whatever. I was sitting there, I talked to her dad the whole night. So after that, we had a conversation, and she said, if you're a part of my life, you're going to have to learn you're going to have to be okay with this. And I said, that's no problem. I said, but what you're going to have to do is you're going to have to educate me, because I know nothing about nothing. I told her, I said, I look at things as like, you have to understand, right? And I said, I don't even know what I don't know. So before I do anything, we got to have a conversation, right? And she said, okay, fine. So then we made this agreement that we would date a year. And I said, that's cool. I'm like, oh, good. What? So again, you know, we started dating in October. In November, this happens, early November, right? Mm-hmm. So I go down to her house for Thanksgiving. We spend time together. Then she asked me to come right back because Tony was in a movie. She played, she asked me to escort her to the Trumpet Awards. This is all one same. So she's like, can you come down and go to the Trumpet Awards with me? I'm like, shit, I've never been to an award. So yeah, I want to, you know, because I like to see how things work. I'm like, hell yeah, I'll come down. So I came down, and she had on a black dress. I had a black suit on, you know, whatever. And so we went to the Trumpet Awards, but we had to leave the Trumpet Awards early to get to her sister's premiere, because her sister played Antoinette, whatever, the lady who talked.
A Lifetime movie, right?
Yeah, Antoinette, whatever her name. I can't remember. But she talked the white dude down that was going to blow up the school. She talked him down. So Tony played that role.
Yeah.
And you know, it's funny because I saw him like, my God, she looks different, because I'd met her for the first time in Vegas. And she actually put on weight for the role, and they did some makeup stuff too, because she needed to be happy. Anyway, so she said, we're going to go to the premiere. And I'm like, cool. I've never been to a premiere before. What's that about? You know, she's like, will you walk the red carpet with me? I'm like, what do you do there? She goes, you just walk and stand and turn and if you look at the Trumpet Awards from 2017, and if you look at those red carpet pictures, I look like a deer in headlights. I mean, it was not like a convention center. It's this long red carpet. I'm telling you, it's probably only 30 yards. Okay.
Yeah.
But it's like an eternity for a guy who's never done it. I just look scared.
I know the feeling. For the very first time, it is intimidating.
It's because it's just cameras. And you know what? I used to always dog. I'm like, why does this dude have on sunglasses? It's 10 o'clock at night.
The lights, man. The lights are crazy.
And I wear contacts, and that shit started hitting me, and then the contacts magnified it. I'm like, oh my God, I get it now. I need some sunglasses. Anyway, so, you know, don't pass judgment till you walk a mile in somebody's shoes, because I'm thinking they just be cool. No, when you got those flashes going, and now they got those LED lights that are high intensity, they kill you. You know, and it's like, stand here, take a picture, then walk another 2.5 feet, turn, take a picture this way. And everybody's like, here. And I'm learning all this shit on the fly, right?
Hey, Vaughn, were they doing the thing where they say, hey, Trina, who's your date? Were they doing that?
They were. And we discussed it, and she said, this is my new boyfriend, and she wasn't giving my name or anything. And people were asking my name. I said, you have to ask her. So we already had it planned out.
Nice.
That was at the Trumpet Awards. Then we go to Tony's premiere, which is down at the SCAD, okay, downtown Atlanta. And we get there, red carpet again. But I've already been through it, and this one's short. I can see the beginning and end of this. This thing is like 20 feet long. I'm like, okay, I can do this. We go see the movie, great movie. We're walking out, and as we're walking out, and you can find this video on the internet, on her page or on somebody's page, you can find it. She's dressed in black. I have on a black suit and a gold tie. You'll know it by the gold tie. All right, we're yellow tie, yellow. We're walking out, and as we're walking down the hallway, and we're about to make a right, which would be a left to you. So we're turning your way this way. And as I look, I see this person filming us, right?
Mm.
I'm like, oh. And so I just did my hands like this, like, look at her. And I stepped out of the way. And the person said, I got you too. So this person posted this video, and it got 250,000 likes in like a day. So the reason I told you the other story is because, you know, once she put it out in public domain, it became fair game. And we hadn't done anything public. We'd done public stuff, but no one had caught us yet.
Right.
But once that thing hit, the next day. So what happened is we went to that thing hit, and she said, my friend recorded us. And I'm like, I tried to get out of the way. She goes, not your fault. She's like, this is going to cause something, watch. And I'm like, oh, okay, whatever. So I went back home. She flew out to LA to shoot. I'm sitting at my boy Mondane's house on the next Friday, eating catfish, great cook. So we sitting there eating catfish. She calls me. She goes, dear. I'm like, hey, how you doing? How's shooting going? She goes, oh, it's fine. Would you fly out here tomorrow to shoot? I'm like, what? She's like, yeah, that video got so many hits, and now I put you in the public domain. Now the show has rights to it, you know? And I'm like, she goes, do you trust me? I said, yeah. She goes, I won't let anything bad happen, because I've seen the horror stories. And I told her, I said, I'm not like these other dudes. I don't care if I'm here or not. And if somebody says the wrong thing, then who I am is going to come out. I don't play those games. Like, I don't want this shit. So if I slap shit out of somebody, it doesn't matter if I can't come back, because I didn't want to be, you know.
Right.
So I'm just like, you have to find that about me. And she's like, okay, if you trust me, I'll take care of it. I'm like, cool. So literally, they said, what flight do you want? And they said we need it as early as possible. I mean, that was like 9 o'clock. No, it wasn't, because I had to go buy some clothes, because they had the scenes they wanted me to do already.
Oh, wow.
So I bought some clothes, you know, and so my boy Mondane and I ran and went to 2 different stores, and I got in there just in the nick of time to buy the shit, right? They had me flying out at 10 a.m. the next morning.
Mm.
And so I flew to LA, and then I was in Westlake, which is way outside. It's like past Calabasas. They say that the Four Seasons out there.
Mm-hmm.
I got there, and Julio was standing there, and he said, this is what we're going to do. We want to film you meeting her mother, and we want you to meet Tawanda and her boyfriend. And I'm like, okay. And you'll see it. It's my first episode. I had a salmon shirt on, and a kind of a purplish sport coat with salmon in it. You'll be able to find my first episode. So they're like, come, you're gonna meet, because she was gonna meet. She knew Tawanda's boyfriend Sean. She knew him, but I hadn't seen him in years. He worked on some music with them years back, right? And so she said, you're gonna meet Sean, I'm gonna meet Sean, and then they can meet you. And I'm like, okay. So we get there, and Tawanda walks in. I shake her hand, and I look, and it's another chick that looks just like them. And I'm like, yeah, and I'm thinking in my head, you just fucking told me that you would not fuck with me. You just told me you wouldn't do that. No surprises. I don't know what I'm doing. Right. But she didn't know until right before, and she knew that I'd panic if she told me. Sean couldn't make the shoot, so they had Tracy come in.
I remember that episode.
Yeah, it worked out, but no, that really happened. That's not contrived or anything. He couldn't make it, so production thought it was a good thing to just have Tracy come in his stead, and I was caught off guard because I was expecting. I'm like, cool, it's gonna be another dude there, and in my mind, I'm thinking he's not used to this shit either, so it's gonna be cool. So we got something to talk about off to the side, and I'm sitting there with 3 chicks. So you asked a question, and I answer things in totality. I guess you could.
No, I like it. I appreciate that.
But that's how I ended up on the show.
Wow. Okay. So in you meeting her and knowing who she is, and now you're on the show. Let scratch that. What is your profession? What do you do?
Well, I'm in the wellness industry. As a matter of fact, when I met Trina, I was in the process. I guess it was open already. I'd opened a clinic, a wellness clinic in St. Louis, and we had just started doing pretty okay. New business. It takes a minute, right?
Yeah.
But so dealing with her, you know, coming down on weekends, maybe staying until Monday or Tuesday and going back, you know. But then as we got more serious, and as again, I told my plan was to always leave St. Louis when my baby boy went to college. And so here's what happened. My last kid graduated when I was 48. And then I was with a woman who had twin boys that were a year younger than his. So instead of me leaving right after Brendan left, I had to wait another year because I was helping raise those two boys. And then we split up right after that. And so I'm like, I'm a year behind. I'm getting out of here anyway. And then I started seeing the market down here, and I'm like, my God, this has got 2.5 times people St. Louis does. You know, St. Louis got just under 3 million. This got 7 down here. And I'm like, this might not be such a bad idea. So we started talking about it. So I ran that clinic in St. Louis for about a year, and then I started transitioning. Well, while I was running it, I was transitioning, trying to open one here, and I ended up opening one here. So we specialize in wellness therapies, infusions of different types, and I won't go into all that because I don't know how much time we have. But we do PRP, which is platelet-rich plasma. That's your own blood, taking it out, spinning it, and using the cytokines and growth factors. So when you spin your blood, it separates into yellow, clear, and red. We take that yellow and we re-inject it into your shoulder, your elbow, your knee, your ankle, your patella tendon,
and it moves the tissue, correct? It helps grow the tissue.
Yes, and it helps rejuvenate. So we do PRP and we do stem cell therapy and exosome therapy. That's what I do.
Nice, very nice. Because you're always speaking from wellness and of health, and I do like that you interject that positivity into the community. I love that about you.
Thank you, man. But you know, we don't. Here's two things. We need it, but our people are particularly behind the 8 ball when it comes to this. Because I remember when I first started finding out about stem cells, I was probably 43, 41. You know, before, I mean, you could hear about it, and there were these mystery therapies that Kobe Bryant was flying to Europe to have, and all of that stuff, and he was going to Colorado for the specialized stuff. So early 40s, I started finding out about it, and I started diving into it because I wanted to know. And talk to a white person. Yeah, my mother, my brother, my aunt, my uncle, my grandmother, my grandfather, me have all had stem cells. I talked to somebody that looked like us, and nobody knew what I was talking about. I'm like, well, this isn't right. So I said, you know what? Somebody's got to do something about it. So I started educating, and I got some of the therapies myself and pushed further. And 6 years later, here I am.
So I'm going to make an offer right here in front of everybody in here. I produce another podcast called The Stephen Knight Show, and I want you to come on that show to specifically talk about that. Because that show, our hub is based in Atlanta, and our people need to hear that. And
I agree. I agree. And whenever you want. Now, here's the thing. I talk a lot. When you ask me a question, I'm going to give you a complete answer. But I promise you, when we talk about health and wellness, my answers will be even more succinct and complete. Because that's what I like to do.
Okay with me, brother. You can give a seminar for all I care.
And I will.
We need to hear that.
Cool. Let me know. And I'll be on.
And your sense of humor, brother. You keep me cracking up on Instagram. Your sense of humor is keen. I like it.
Thank you.
So how are you dealing with, or how have you dealt with that transition into the spotlight?
Okay. I only speak one way, and I don't really care how people feel about me, you know, because I tell you how I feel. And I have to preface that because this is your show. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But the industry that my wife is in is full of dog shit people. It just is. I don't care if you like it or not. It's just there are so, like, okay, real simple. I come from a place where, okay, I don't like that dude. That dude doesn't like me. We don't fuck with each other. Never in my life have I watched people, I don't like that dude. He doesn't like me. Let's take a picture together. I'm not used to that shit. That's different. And she's like, well, you have to do it sometimes for this, that, and the other. And I'm like, I'm not doing it. And then I stop myself. And I'm like, but it's not about you, because I could do or say something that could affect her livelihood. And I don't want to cost her money. That's, you know, that's here. So I had to find a way to temper that. But there are some good people. I've met some good quality, sound people. Tamika Scott and her husband, Darnell Winston.
Yeah.
Salt of the earth people, man. Darnell and I are like this. I mean, he calls me his brother, and I call him my brother. He's my little brother. The good people. Another one of Trina's friends, Keisha Ross and her husband Carlos, good
Mm-hmm.
people. You know, it's another guy, Will Jackson. She did a play with him. I call him my little brother. He's just cool as shit. You know, so there's like three or four dudes down here that I hang with because you know what's this. Even though like Will is in the industry, and there's another dude down here that I hang with, Pastor Pat, white guy that I've had on some of my lives or whatever, because we worked in the stem cell industry together. There's like 4 or 5 guys that I mess with down here, and the rest I just keep stepping, man, because it's when I see people and they come at me and they want to be fast friends, I'm like, here's the thing, here's the honest answer. I don't have anything you want. You're cozying up to me because you want to get to my wife and ultimately her sister, one of them, even the oldest sister or the young, you trying to get at them. I'm not stupid. I'm not playing that game. And I've had so many people, hey man, I'm gonna send you this music, give it to Tony and Birdman. I'm like, the fuck? Like, I won't even say what I said to somebody who said that to me, who's known me my whole life. I'm like, bro, you got me completely wrong on that. I had a guy, there's a place I hang out in St. Louis. My boy, 2 of my boys own it. It's called Elmo's. It's in St. Louis. It's a great place. That's like where all of us go. My whole college basketball team, the guys that still live in St. Louis, go there. I see all my friends there all the time. If I walked in there right now, I'd know 100 people. It's that place, right? I had a dude walk up to me. First off, I had Trina at Elmo's one night. We went there just because. She's like, I want to see where you go out. I'm like, all right, like, this ain't the Ritz-Carlton, you know, but you want to come? Fuck it, you know, come. I said, I'm not going to collar your ass. We're going to go. It's going to be crowded. Whatever, you're just going to have to deal with it. You know, this is just normal, you know. And so everybody starts, and I'm like, I didn't appreciate the type of effect a person like that has going into a venue like that when in St. Louis, when you're not seeing anybody famous. It was like people had seen a ghost and people squealing from all over the place and everything. I'm like, Jesus, and everyone wants to take a picture. And then my night's messed up, you know, because, you know, she goes from being my girlfriend, that's just Trina, and now I'm hungry. And Trina's like, well, I'll fix that. Well, Trina's got to be Trina Braxton. She's got to go to work. You know, it's just different. So there's one dude in particular. He put his arm around her to take a picture. It was a little low, so I just grabbed his wrist and I moved the shit up. It was like on our ass. I'm like, we don't do that here. You know, I don't give these cameras are here. You know better. You wouldn't do that to anybody else's girl here. You're not doing mine. 3 weeks later, I'm at this bar, same bar. This dude who I don't know, I've seen from a distance, he's had 15 years to say hello to me. I promise you.
Wow.
He's spoken to me in 15 years. No problem. I don't like you. You don't like me. We avoid each other, right? That's the rule.
Right.
This motherfucker walks up to me and says, hey, bro, I got an idea for a movie. I want you to give it to your girl. I can't say what I said to him. But he's like, oh, bro, it ain't like that. And the dude grabbed me and put his hand on my shoulder. So I took his wrist and twisted it up. And they brought security and threw him out of the thing. I'm like, and it's just like, dude, you haven't given 2 shits about me. And I've seen you in here because it's always like, it'll be March, you know, and St. Louis is not as warm as Atlanta, but damn near March. This motherfucker will walk in with a fur coat and shit, you know. It's like, it's 65 degrees outside. You planned to wear that shit last week when it was cold. You didn't adjust your outfit, but now it's 72. You just, you know, I'm like, bro, he's that dude. I promise you, he's that dude. I promise. And I'm sure if you Google, you know, Elmo's whatever, you'll see his picture on the internet somewhere. But it's too hot for him to have the shit he had on, right? Anyway, so he walks up to me, and now all of a sudden he wants to talk to me. I'm like, bro, you haven't spoken to me. We don't do this. And I'm like, I had to get an appreciation for what this fame shit does to people. Because, you know, okay, I know my wife is famous, but, you know, when we get home, you got chores to do, I got chores to do. You know, we got to clean up the room. We got to do this, whatever. You know, we got to pay. I mean, once she's out of the limelight, she's just a normal ass chick. You know, we have the same relationship problems as everybody else. Now, I will say that my relationship problems with her are easier because she's one of the few women that I've been with that actually understands me, and that's not an easy thing because I'm a weird dude. But we still got the same problems as everybody else. And it's like that, oh, she's famous. That shit, I think about that shit when people bring it up. It's just my wife. I mean, she's no different. Let me tell you, I'm going to tell you how your girlfriend is. I don't know her name. I ain't never met her. She's mostly nice, mostly sweet, hard-headed as fuck. We'll break something. We'll break something and ask you to fix it, and then stand over your shoulder and tell you how to fix it, even though she couldn't do it herself. I mean, that's just a woman, right? That's what men.
True.
Do it myself, and then she'll break the shit. Will you fix it for me? And then stand right here. I think you out. I'm like, well, why didn't you do it the first time? Go away. You know. So that's. I mean, it's just, I'm married to a woman. It doesn't matter what she does for a living. She's just a chick. You know.
That's true. That's so true. And you guys seem like you have a lot of fun together.
We do.
She's a clown too. Both of you are funny together.
Dude, here's the thing. It's like, you know, a lot of people that meet me will say they didn't know I was funny because I'm serious. But if we're like around my friends, my core friends, I crack jokes all the time. It's just I'm not an entertainer, and I don't really like the limelight, so I don't do that in front of people.
Right.
I'll tell a joke in front of 100 people, but it's because I know them. You know what I mean?
Right.
Not because I'm on a stage. So, you know, but yeah, I practical joke with people. I like to give people a hard time. I like to get a rise out of people. I like to, you know, kind of antagonize people a little bit. I enjoy it. You know, my son's got that on us too, because we like poking the bear a little bit. But she has made me more comfortable with laughing out loud and stuff like that in public, because I've always been, because, you know, my brother and I are both big people, right? And my mother had this thing when we were younger. She said you can be big or you can be loud, but you can't be both. So, you know, my brother and I are pretty soft-spoken guys or whatever, you know. But in this industry, it doesn't really fit. And I've gotten to the point now to where I just don't care. You just, you know, it's one of those things. And I tell people, they're like, "What's it like?" It's like a horror movie. And you watch and it's the same thing in every horror movie. It's some chick that's being stalked by this guy that's trying to kill her, right? And she's scared to death and scared to death and scared to death. And then at the end, she's like, fuck it. She's tired of being scared, right? Then she snaps. That's what this, because I was so scared, and I would break out, bro. When I had that first episode, I was sweating everywhere. And it was like that I was just nervous. I don't even know why, just scared of the camera. And I mean, you can see me, they cut a lot of that shit out, but sometimes I'd be in a scene, I'd be looking at the production team to see what they were doing, you know, because I don't know, you know. And but it just got to a point to where it's like, I mean, there was one time when we were shooting and we had a call time at a certain time at night, like let's say 6 o'clock. Well, they were running behind schedule, so that call time got moved to like 10:45 at night, and then we had another call time at 9 the next morning. And you're supposed to be up primping and whatever. And I don't wear makeup on the show because I just don't care. You know what I mean? It's just how I look. It's reality TV. It's what I look like in reality, you know? So I got up that next morning. I was so tired, I didn't even shave. I was like, fuck it, you know, just whatever. You know, and it was at that point, I'm just like, you can't worry about it. Yeah. You just got to be you, and it's going to have to be good enough. You know?
How was filming during the pandemic? How did that go? Because there's a lot of different guidelines that need to be met during that time. I'm sure it was more of a headache.
About filming, the actual process.
Yeah.
Oh, well, we didn't do a lot of filming during the pandemic. So here's what they did. They came to the house and they filmed some stuff. And there were these strict protocols. And see, there's some things that I do, and I'm going to take a segue. People need to stop worrying about this virus, not because it's not dangerous, but because it can be dealt with. And so when this whole thing came out, I'm like, and how old are you?
50.
Oh, wow. You look young as hell. Okay, so we're in the same age group. Real young. I thought you were a kid. So whatever you're doing, keep doing that shit. Anyway, so you had a grandmother that said, when you have a cold or a flu, you get a pot of boiling water, you put a towel over your head, and you breathe it in, right? You heard that. We all heard it. Everybody. White, black, everybody. That shit.
Put your lipids in it. Yep.
There you go. So I'm like, put some peroxide in that shit. And I promise you that just something told me to do it, because whenever I've gotten a sore throat since the 80s, when I was in college, I would always gargle with peroxide and my sore throat would go away.
Yeah.
When this happened, I'm like, what if I put peroxide in the water and I breathe it in? I said that on Instagram. I did it up like one of my first live videos, and I just took a beating. Here's what happened. This doctor reached out to me in messages, and he said, no, you're on the right track. And then he provided me with a white paper on a study conducted in 1990 about a doctor that was given hydrogen peroxide infusions. And he said, and what you're talking about is exactly right. And he gave me a white paper on it. I have it. I'll send it to you. So I'm like, wow. Doctor just, and then so that's what started happening when I started doing my health and wellness, because I'd never done a live, ever done a live. I mean, I'd like shown when I was at places with Trina, because I was a bunch of new experiences. So if I'm at a concert and I'm not used to, you know, I'm not used to being in the front row of a concert or definitely backstage, you know. So when I'm backstage, I'm like, look at this. I cannot believe I'm standing. That's Patti LaBelle just walked by. You know, I'm tripping, you know, because that's not my life, you know. And but I never done like a sit down. But when this pandemic happened, I did my first sit down, and that was one of the first things that I did. And so my point is this, is that you come to my house now, you come in and I'll say, here's what you do. There's pandemic around and all of this. Here's what you do. I got this steamer. It's got water and hydrogen peroxide, and it's like a face steamer that women use for faces, and it's got a reservoir about this big. Well, I'll put this much water in it and that much peroxide, and I run it, and we mouth and nose for about 30 seconds or whatever. And if there's a virus of any kind in your nasal cavity, well, it's dead now, because peroxide kills everything. So what I did is, you know, they had a protocol for testing us, and I said, that's fine. You can find out if somebody has it, but what are you doing to prevent it? And they're like, what do you suggest? Get a bunch of these. And so we used these steamers, and everybody breathed in peroxide, and we didn't have any incidents. Not a single person caught COVID anywhere around us. So they came to that. They did is they had us at the house. They had us at the house, and they would go to everybody's individual house and shoot there, and you were just kind of quarantined within your group. But with that said, a production team has about 25 people on it, you know, with all their trucks and their dollies and the setup guys and everything. So you still got 40 people in the house, so you're not really being safe. So we just peroxide. But go ahead.
True. So the storyline with Miss E staying at your house during the pandemic, was that true?
Hell yeah, it was true. It was my idea. Yeah. Because go ahead, ask your question.
No, go ahead.
Because I was worried, because all of the things that they were saying, I'm thinking about total anarchy. You know, people not being able to work. You know, there being a shortage of toilet paper. If there's a shortage of toilet paper, paper towels, and sanitizer, there's going to be a shortage of other things. So I'm thinking about it, and we live way out north, like 60 miles from the South Carolina border, right? And then mother lives, and I'm in Buckhead now, so mother lives in Buckhead. That's 47 miles. And I'm thinking, if something happens, there's no way, with the way this traffic is here, there's no way that I can get to her. So I said, call your mom and ask her to come out here and stay with us so I can keep her eye on her, you know, so we can keep her eye on her, whatever. And she said no. I'm like, all right, no problem. So I called Mike Jr., her son. I said, I can't watch your mom from where she is. Tell her to come out here and stay with us. 5 minutes later, she called back and she said, I have my assistant bring me out the next day. So no, that's a true story.
Yeah. And how hard was it to say goodbye to the cooking?
Oh, bro, I got so spoiled. Because, I mean, she cooks for me like all the time. And there's one time where Trina had been traveling, and she just called me to see how I was doing, because I was at the house. And I'm like, I'm fine. I said, your daughter hadn't had a chance to cook for me, so I'm over here cooking. She's like, come down here and I'll cook. And I got it on my Instagram page. I went down there, man. It was a whole table full of shit. It was all mine. I mean, she made oxtails, meatloaf, sweet potato, greens, macaroni. I mean, everything. It was just like a Tuesday, and it was in the middle of it. It was like Thanksgiving. She just, can someone please repeat the peroxide steps? I'm going to stop and do that because it's important. Let's just say you got a pot, small pot that you boil rice in, right? So put this much water in the pot, okay? So that tall in a pot about, yay big, okay? So this much water, not a lot. Put about 3 or 4 tablespoons of peroxide in there. Let it steam. Get a towel and breathe it in over your head. If you've got a face steamer like most women do, you can put water in the reservoir. If the reservoir is this big, put this much water from here to here in water, and then this much peroxide. Turn it on and just breathe it in. But anyway, so
hold on. I have a question. Going back to that,
yeah.
could you even use one of those humidifiers with the hose attachment so you can attach a mask to it?
A nebulizer,
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah.
That's right. Or Tony pot, same thing. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Because they'll tell you that it doesn't tolerate heat well. They'll tell you to rinse your nose with a neti pot or whatever the hell they call it, noni pot, neti pot. Whatever. But so I had that live, and there was nothing they did about that because someone would have had to actually watch it. But when I made the post about the peroxide in the water, and I said what it was,
Mm-hmm.
it got deleted from Facebook and Instagram.
Wow.
I mean, I talk about the fact that there's a cure for cancer, and when I post that shit, the posts disappear, my lives disappear. So,
wow.
but we'll talk on your other show about that, because God made a cure for everything, and it's all here. I'm gonna tell you this: I can't run what other people do in the world, but as far as my house, meaning my house with Trina, my sons, her sons, my family back in St. Louis, we don't worry about cancer anymore because it can be fixed. All of it can. So,
Are you familiar with the work of Dr. Sebi?
of course,
Okay.
yeah. Now you talk about having a life that you would never expect. I live it. I live a life, and it's like when I'm thinking about it right now, I get goosebumps. You can't see them. I'm getting goosebumps because my life is very surreal. So I idolized this dude when I found out about him, right? I'm like, golly, this guy was a genius. And I took his stuff as gospel, but me being the person that I am, I start researching. I'm gonna get back to the food, especially because I'm hungry. But I'm researching this guy's stuff. So I opened my clinic down here, right? Guess who one of the first people I meet was?
Who?
Kelly Bowman. You don't know that name, do you?
No.
Dr. Sebi's daughter.
Oh. Yeah, I'm familiar with his son, not his daughter.
That's his grandson. That's his grandson. That's
Grandson.
Kelly's son. That's Kelly's son.
Oh. Now
She came. I had an open house about stem cells and wellness, and she came. And I've gotten a lot of good compliments in my life. A lot. Top 3 came from her. She told me I remind her of her father. And I teared up.
Wow.
Yep.
Huge.
Yep. She's, I mean, we sat and we've spoken for hours about wellness stuff. That lady is brilliant. Beyond brilliant. Grandson, beyond brilliant. They
yeah,
but,
Dr. Sebi cured my aunt of cancer.
Mm-hmm.
She went to him in his compound in Honduras.
Yep. There's a cure for everything. There's nothing you have to fear. God put all. Okay, so we're going to take a segue because I want people to understand. I want you to understand this. You live in a house right now. You got weed killer there, don't you?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Here's what I want you to do. I want everybody to do this. Look at your weed killer sometime this weekend. Look at all the weeds that it kills, right?
Mm-hmm.
Pick 3 of them and Google their medicinal value. It'll blow your mind. In this country, we're systematically trained to kill the very plants that have the cures in them. So they'll tell you, and I don't give a shit. They'll tell you, this weed killer kills dandelions. Look at the medicinal value of the dandelion. When you look at the derivatives, and I won't go into it on your other show, I will.
Okay.
And everything that a dandelion is comprised of, 3 of those things are in high blood pressure medicine and diabetes medicine.
Wow.
So what I do is when I take walks, not through people's yards that use pesticides and things of that nature, but if I take a walk and there's like unkept grass that the city cuts, once it gets this tall, the city cuts it, and I see dandelions, I pick them up by the root and I eat them whole as I'm taking a walk. Yeah. So you will not be able to use a plant to cure an acute state. You're whatever. You find out you have stage 4 cancer. And that's not true, but you can't use a plant to cure that like right now. Like you can take an headache. It's not like that. But if you adopt a wellness lifestyle,
it's preventative medicine.
Exactly, because I don't want to replace doctors. I love doctors, and I'm actually going back to school to do some more study, and that's a different conversation. But I look at my job as mitigating your time between visits. If you're used to going to the doctor every 3 months for something, can we do something to extend that to 6 months or 9 months or a year? That's all.
Yeah.
Doctors have
Yeah.
their place, great people, and the vast majority of them operate from a space in their heart because they want to help. Okay,
Yes.
but they get hogtied by the FDA and more importantly, the insurance companies. So the drug companies, the FDA, and the insurance companies make them do things a certain way. They can't. You're off in their office. You can't. They can't tell you about these alternative cures because insurance won't pay for that visit if they do. They might lose their license if they do. Even though, and I know it took a segue, but you got me. This is your fault. You asked the question, but let's do one exercise and then we'll go back to whatever you want to say. I promise. Name. Okay, I won't do that. It takes too long. How many people do you know that have died of cancer?
More than 5.
Okay, great. They were in all disciplines, right? All teachers, firefighters, police officers, whatever, right? They're just different. Okay, in this country, 37, and see, the thing is, they'll make you think that women get cancer at a higher rate than men. They don't. 37% of women in the United States get cancer at some point in their lifetime. 39% of men get cancer at some point in their lifetime. So 37% of women, 39% of men. 2.02% of the U.S. population dies of cancer every year. 2.02% of 300 million people. So that's like 600,000 people, right? Give or take. Every year, die of cancer every year. Out of the 5 people that you know that died of cancer, more than 5. Give me a better number than more than 5. What do you think? How many? What's the actual number? Closer to what?
Probably closer to 10.
Okay, good. So you got a number of 10. So how many people do you think you know? How many people do you think you know? Like, how many people are you shaking hands with, got phone numbers with, cordial with? Give me a number.
That I know? Like,
yes,
no.
What, 3,000, 2,000? What do you think?
3,000 is a good number.
3,000. So if 2% of the U.S. population dies from cancer, right? And you know how many?
3,000.
Okay. So you should know 6 people that died of cancer.
Yeah.
Your numbers match up, don't they?
Yeah.
So you know 10 people that died of cancer. I ask you one question. I'm going to ask everybody here one question. 10, 7. Ask you one question. How many doctors do you know died of cancer?
Doctors?
No, you don't, because nobody fucking does. Why? In this country, you're either male or a woman, so you either have a 37% chance or a 39% chance of getting cancer. No, I'm not talking about black or white. You can forget
No.
because it supersedes that. And they got us fighting over this race shit, but it's deeper than that. And everybody says 0, 0, 0. If you're a doctor in this country,
but technically, Vaughn, because I'm in the medical industry too.
Good.
You don't really die from the disease. You die from the treatment of the disease.
You die from you do. However, and you can split that hair any way you want. When you get done, how many doctors have died from the treatment of that disease? And the answer is still 0.
Yeah.
Why? You're either a man or a woman, so you either got a 39% chance or a 37% chance of getting it, and 2% of the population dies from it, and you already proved to me, 3,000 people, 6 people that have died from it, your numbers match. Why don't you know any doctors? How many doctors do you know?
Well, plenty, because I work in an hospital.
Give me a number.
Oh my God. I probably know like 30 to 40.
30 to 40. So we'll round up. So 30 to 40. Let's say 40. Okay. Okay. So 2% of the population dies. So out of 40 people, that means 0.8% of a person should have died. So you should know one fucking doctor that's died of cancer, but you don't. Why? I know why. I know why, and you know why. Just don't.
They have the end. There's a cure. There's a cure.
You're kidding. But they tell us there's no cure for cancer, but you can't find a dead doctor of cancer. Get the fuck out of here. That's what we're dealing with.
It's big business, brother. Anytime that you have something like AIDS or cancer, it's money in it.
There's the last thing this country cured was polio. Okay, let me tell you, these motherfuckers won't even hide this shit. It's taking a life of its own. But again, it's your fault. You're the question asker. So this is where it led us. Think back to Chris Rock. He did a skit about Robitussin years ago, and we're close to the same age. So you remember, talk about all you had in the hood was Robitussin, right? You break your leg, you record Robitussin, let that tussin get in the bone. Remember that?
Yes.
Okay. But what he also said, he said, this country ain't never curing AIDS. He goes, one day they're going to get it to where you can live with it. And he said, and I'm paraphrasing, but he said, yeah, man, I missed work yesterday. My AIDS was acting up, but I took some Robitussin and I'm all right. Yes or no?
Yeah, he did say.
Okay. Right now, is there or is there not a commercial on television that says you take this drug, you won't die from AIDS. Furthermore, it'll be undetectable in your bloodstream, so you won't even test positive, and you can't even transmit. You can't. So if you've got a drug that'll do that shit, but you got to keep taking it, logic, whether you're a doctor, a chemist, whatever, logic would dictate that you could take whatever remedy that is a step further and eradicate it from the body, right?
How about that?
Do that. They're going to give you a pill. You can take that shit the rest of your life, though.
That's all it's about.
Someone said they cured Magic Johnson, and they cured him well before this drug we talking about. This commercial started late last year.
Yeah.
And Magic Johnson got 90. He's the fattest age patient in the history of the world.
So true. So true.
I'm just saying, bro. It's just, you gotta take the blinders off and look at this shit for what it is. People say, don't take that plant. Don't take that natural cure. People say don't take plants to fix things. Well, wait a fucking minute. Where do you think these pills come from? First off, nothing on this planet that's derived from the earth, it either came from a plant or water or the minerals in a rock.
Yes.
That's all you and I are. 102 minerals. We've got a bunch of other things in us, but we're comprised of 102 minerals. So they tell you don't take this plant, but the pill you gave me was made from plants. So is the plant or is the pill not the middleman? So if you got it and you put it in this pill form, you had to get it from the same place I could get it from the ground. Maybe I can't take, this ginger root and cure my headache like right now. But could I take ginger root every, 4 or 5 days and never suffer from a headache again? Maybe.
Yeah. And they give you just enough to suppress it, not cure it. Just enough.
Mm-hmm. It's from the perspective that I'm working, and I'm trying to save something for your other show, but I'm watching. I got some news today about a therapy that I use all the time. Now it was for general office use, which means I can order a shit ton of it, right, and just have it in my office. You come in and you want that infusion, I just give it to you, right?
Mm-hmm.
Next Thursday, I got this information today. So a week from today, now it's going to prescription based, which means, okay, but and that so people say, well, what's the big deal? Let me tell you what the big deal is. I can buy it for general office use. That means I can buy as much of this supply as I can afford, right?
Right.
And lyophilize, so it comes in a powder, and I reconstitute it. I put bacteriostatic water in it, shake it up, and it becomes a liquid, right? So I do that as needed, okay? That's how you do it. I'm lyophilized. So I can buy big vials of that shit and just put it in the closet. You show up, I reconstitute it, I give you an infusion, right? Because I've got it in there. Well, now, I have to have a prescription for you. So that whole vial, I have to reconstitute it and give you infusions, but I don't know if you're coming back. I can only use it for you because it's against the law to give someone else someone's prescription, right?
Right.
So now, to do that, I have to charge my patients the full bore for that shit, where I was doing it at a discount, because my goal when I got into wellness was not to treat rich people. Rich people,
Yeah.
My wife's family can get the best of everything. They don't need discounts. They don't need help. They can go buy whatever the fuck they want. But the woman who's a teacher, the man who's a carpenter who's swinging a hammer, those people need my therapies. They need it because it's life or death for them. Doctors will fly in to treat my wife's family on their own dime because they want to do it, because they want to be associated with the family. But my side of the family, we had to go to doctors. You know, that was an auto body mechanic, and I remember he had fluid on his knee. He would limp into work. His back was hurting. He laid in the hallway one night for about 3 hours because his back hurt so bad. Read the paper because he couldn't get up, but he got his ass up and went to work to provide for me and my brother and my mom. That's the dude that needs these therapies that I have. And so when I got into the industry, my goal was to make them affordable to everyone, to make them as affordable as possible for everyone. And I've been chipping away. And I'll tell you, I chipped away. I started selling stem cell therapies. It cost $10,000 because I had to pay an exorbitant amount. And at that price, I wasn't making all that money. When you looked at my overhead, what it cost to get them, the overhead, all the supplies I needed to administer that therapy, the doctor I have to pay. I'm not a doctor. The doctor's got to inject. They might walk away with $450. You know what I mean?
Wow.
Maybe. You know what I'm saying? So I'm charging 10 grand. And then they started getting more and more effective. I got it down to where when I'm in Buckhead right now, and I'm actually at a restaurant with my wife and her friends, because I forgot about that too. So I had to come down here because last time I fucked it up. Last Thursday, I was supposed to be a whole bunch of places. I didn't remember. So I didn't just screw you over. I missed all. So I'm hanging out. But my clinic that I opened is right down the street, about a mile. I got that shit down to $6,000 at the other end of, so the street comes to a T. I'm on this street, which is Piedmont. This is Far. So when Piedmont and Far meet, if you go down to Far to where it ends, there's a dude down there that was selling the same stem cells I was selling from the same fucking company. I sold them for $6,000. He was selling them for $12,000 and $15,000. The same exact thing, and was getting it because his office was nicer than mine. So it must be something different. He had the same rep. His same rep.
Wow.
That rep is now my friend. That's Pastor Patrick Kiley.
Okay.
That's my friend. So that's how we met in the stem cell game. And selling the same shit, and he's like 2.5 times more than me. I got stem cells all the way down to about $2,200, bro. I've been busting my ass, and I played all these stem cell companies. I don't care what your pricing is. This is what I get. If you can beat it, you can have my business. If you have the same efficacy in your product, if you have the same viability, meaning live cells in there, I'll do business with you. And I just kept playing them against each other. And I got the price down, $2,100. And then guess what happened ask me what happened on June 30th.
What happened?
They outlawed stem cell.
They got what?
You heard me. Can't get them.
Really?
Yeah. And here's the caveat to that. You can get them. Okay, so if I want stem cells, I can go buy them right now. Let's say you have a knee, and you want to get stem cells in your knee. I can go buy them right now. There's a company that's giving a middle finger to the government, and so they'll send me these stem cells, right? And I administer them to you, and everything's good. But in a year, because we're on July 8th, and I administered them to you, 8 days after the mandate, and I have a fine and face potential jail time, and the company faces a huge fine. So I'm stuck. I know the therapies work. I don't have a therapy that I haven't tried on myself, and I'll get into all the therapies I've done on myself. I'm a test dummy for my therapies, but I can't. I know that if you had a torn rotator cuff, if you had meniscal tear, if you had partially ruptured patella tendon, you had an Achilles problem. I know I can shoot stem cells in there and fix it. I know that if you have a leaky heart valve, I can give you a stem cell IV, put it in your arm, and those things will go through your body, and they love heart and lung. That's 50%. If I put 1 million stem cells in you, 400,000 to 500,000 of them are going to stop right here because they love this area, and you need it for longevity, and they just go repair and shit.
Right.
And then the rest of them look for what's called a Pearson signal. When your body hurts, your body emits what's called a Pearson signal, or a beacon, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it says, I need help here. Send all available reinforcements here. So your body sends stem cells and cytokines and all growth factors and all that shit to that area.
Mm-hmm.
You sprain your ankle, shit swells up. That's like, don't put any weight on it. I'm bringing all these resources here. We're going to kind of like envelope it, stay off of it while we do our work. That's what your body does.
Yeah.
I put stem cells in there, you heal quicker. I know this. I've seen it in myself and countless other people, and I can't give it to a single person now. Welcome to America.
Do you foresee that changing at all? Do you think that there will be?
But you'll be able to get stem cells, and people are going to say, oh, what's the big deal? Because what they're going to do, they said more research is needed. Yeah, they're going to come back. They come back beginning of next year, and guess what? They're going to be covered by insurance. What about the motherfucker that doesn't have insurance? What about the person that has insurance but can't use it because its deductible is $8,000?
Right.
By the way, I just told you I was selling stem cells for $2,200. So now you can get them, but you're going to pay 3 times the price using insurance that you could have just walked in my office and used. That's what's going to happen. That's where we're headed. And somebody
due to the you couldn't sell them at that price through insurance, right?
Huh?
You couldn't sell them at that price through insurance.
Insurance is not going to take that because it's going to be set by the drug companies, and so there'd be, if I sold them to you for $2,100, then I would be giving money because they're gonna make sure that I pay. If they covered by insurance, that therapy is gonna be $25,000. They're gonna make sure those stem cells cost me $17,000. So yeah, I can sell them to you for $2,000, but I'm putting $15,000 with that. Yeah.
Mm.
So.
Yikes.
Yeah.
I appreciate you, Mr. Vaughn. I appreciate you a whole lot.
About food, and now we own something else, and it's already been
that's why this is called Conversations with Chike Evans. It's not necessary. It doesn't necessarily have a direction. We're just having loose conversation, and I always love what it turns into.
Good. I'm gonna finish my thing about the food though because it's important to know. So you asked how it worked out and how hard was it to let the food go, man. So while she was there, she was practicing for her cookbook.
Yes.
At the same time, Tamika Scott, who lives literally 4 houses, walk out of our front door. There's our house, and there's a house at the corner. Turn. There's a house at the corner, and the second house is Tamika's house on the other side of the street.
Okay.
Same time, she's writing a cookbook. So Darnell is calling me like, V, come over, bro. She ain't cooked again, man. Come up, eat some of this food. So I'm taking a pilgrimage to his house, and I'm like, okay, when we get done, can you come over to my house because it's dessert here? Help me eat this. I mean, bruh, I gained about 30 pounds. We sat there. We looked so stupid. We were just sitting there just exhausted from eating. I mean, I come home from work, and the whole dining room would be full, because he had somebody there taking pictures. But all that shit is edible. So I do what anybody would do. I got a plate. I was like, y'all done with pictures? I just start taking that, just eat. I mean... Oh, I ate so good. I ate so good, bro. She kept saying, I think I'm going to go home now. I'm like, no, don't go, man. It got so bad. I kept telling her, I'm going to hide your keys. She snuck out and went home one day when I was at work because she knew she tried to go one time. I parked behind her car. Where are you going? Like, boy, don't get out the way. And I ate so good, man. I mean, it was shit. 120 days of that, man. I ate so good, it's ridiculous.
You said 120 days?
Yeah, dude, it took her that long to write that book, and for Tamika to write her book, and Darnell and I just sitting there looking stupid, man. Just eyes swollen, stomach here, happy though. It was a good time.
Can you cook? Do you have skills in the kitchen?
Okay, so I have 3 boys, and all of them my size, and they live with me most of the time. Primarily for a while, and then we started flip-flopping. But so I can cook enough to make people happy. Now, here's what I will say: I don't care who you put me in front of. I'll set my ribeye steak up against anybody, and my salmon, I will cook that against anyone. Outside of that, no, not really. But I mean, I can survive with food. I have this dish that I started doing when the boys were younger, was this chicken thighs because they are more flavorful,
Mm-hmm.
and rice, and then use the drippings from the chicken to pour over the rice, and we would have carrots and spinach or broccoli with it. But I can make spaghetti and I can make lasagna. It's not the greatest, but I make survival food. But I will put my steak and my salmon against anyone.
Oh, okay. All right. I don't really have anything else to ask you, brother. I appreciate your time and your energy.
I appreciate being patient, man. I apologize again for last week. It won't happen again, I promise. And you have my number now, and so just text me now.
I will. I'll probably give you a few weeks before I reach out for the other show.
Okay. Okay.
Are you guys coming back on the show? Are you coming back? Did they talk about it?
Okay, so on that show, I am what you call a prop. Okay, so I don't have any rights. I have a small talent contract, but I'm not at liberty to discuss anything about the show because it's not mine.
Okay, cool. Well, tell your wife I got the bourbon. Mwah.
You like it?
I like it.
Man, that chick is talented. She can do anything. I mean, she really can. That bourbon, and I'm not a drinker. I don't drink a whole lot, and I don't like bourbon at all. But I can tolerate, and that shit is really good with some vanilla ice cream.
Oh, wow. I didn't think about that.
I know. That shit's good.
You're going to something. You just turned me on.
Put a little bit of cinnamon on it. That shit's great. You just bourbon in there around the ice cream and they eat it together.
Shut up.
You got it right. All you need is some vanilla ice cream, and I know you got some cinnamon. Yeah.
I'm on that. I am on that.
Yeah, man. Cool.
Do you come in the Philadelphia area at all?
I haven't in a while. I used to have a good friend who was on the news there, but I haven't in a while. But if I do, now that I have your number, we'll stay in contact. And I'll say this in front of everybody. The only reason I slow walked you is because I get requests like this for, a lot. Mm-hmm. But these people have an agenda. And like I said, it's not, and not that you want to know about my wife, because that in the public eye, that's the only interesting thing I've ever done. I'm just a normal person. So I understand that. I'm not offended by it at all. Most of the time when people see me, I don't even have a fucking name. It's like, hey, Trina's husband, which know me. You know what? People get nervous, and I took offense to it at first. It's like, these people don't know me. And if I weren't married, they wouldn't know me at all. So just don't worry about that shit. Anyway, but a lot of people come at me wrong, and I ask them, why would you even want to talk to me? And they don't have an answer. You articulated an answer. I'm like, this is a real dude. Yeah, I'll do it. And then I just messed up the time last week. But now that I know you got my number, you can call me or text me anytime you want.
Okay. All right. You ever up in the Philly area? I know you appreciate a good stogie. I know good place to go.
We will do that. And likewise, if you come down here, don't come down here and not let me know, bro. For real.
No BS. I will be down there the end of September. I have to come to a birthday.
Then we'll go smoke a cigar and we'll have some pasta or something. Absolutely.
Got that. I appreciate you, brother.
All right, man. Likewise. Thank you. Are you going to post this, or are you going to take it all down? Or are you just leaving it as is?
No. We're posting this. It stays. Unless someone is offended with something that we have said, and you know how they do. But for the most part.
Okay, if you take it down, just save it and send it to me.
Okay.
All right,
I will never take it. All right, brother.
Cool.
Again, thank you for being a positive light in this whole industry of things. You may not have meant to do that, but just being you, man, your presence is definitely influential.
You know what? I had to be me because I didn't know how to do shit else. That's all I knew, bro.
Absolutely. Be blessed, brother.
Likewise, man. Thank you so much. I appreciate you. All right.
Likewise. Yes.